Uranium Energy Corp, one of only 12 uranium producers in the world. UEC trades on the New York Stock Exchange. They have more than doubled their in-ground uranium resource over the past 2 years. They've also become one of only 6 uranium producers in the United States. Led by Amir Adnani, who has been ranked as one of the top resource CEOs by Casey Research, Amir has attracted major investors like Rick Rule of Sprott Asset Management, Li Ka-shing, the richest man in Asia, and institutions such as Vanguard and BlackRock. Learn more about Uranium Energy Corp at uraniumenergy.com or by calling 866-748-1030. All right, greetings and thank you for joining us at futuremoneytrends.com. I'm here with Bradford Cooke. He's a legendary junior mining CEO because, as everybody knows who subscribes to the newsletter, it's very hard to go from exploration to producer. Endeavour Silver is a very successful silver producer. Brad, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, Daniel.
Brad, I've got a few questions from subscribers and then obviously some silver updates for our members. The first one people commonly ask is, why do silver companies or any mining company sell their products for less than the cost of production? Why not just hold them back or stop producing? You know, people have compared it to any other business. Walmart wouldn't sell things below cost, but mining companies do. And the scary thing is, mining companies have a depleting asset.
So there's 3 influences on why companies from time to time are underwater in terms of their profit margin. First, we have to understand that mining is not only a cyclic business, but a capital-intensive business. And at the bottom of each cycle, most mining companies actually do lose money. And so at the top of the cycle, they really do need to use a large part of their profits or accumulated capital to reinvest for the future. That's just the way the business works. So there are built-in losses at the bottom of a particular downturn. That's why mining companies continue to sell. They need the cash flow to pay their employees, and the belief is that it's a temporary bottom to the cycle. So they continue to run their business through that bottom, looking for the next leg up. Being cyclic and capital intensive, we are different than Walmart. Because Walmart can fix the prices of its products and it knows what its revenue line will look like a year or 2 or 5 years out. We have no idea what our revenue line is going to look like 1 or 2 or 5 years out because we're entirely reliant on the gold and silver prices that float. Walmart's prices don't float. So what can we as miners do to, first of all, reduce risk, and second of all, maximize profit for our stockholders? First of all, take care of our business, make sure it's running tip-top shape, lowest possible cost structure, so that you can survive the bottom of each dip, each cycle. And I can assure you that this year of low metal prices, Endeavour is making money. Just focus on the value creation for your stockholders, which for us is growth.
Yeah.
You know, companies in any business go from young to mid-stage to mature. And you make money in different ways depending on where you are in your life cycle as a company. You mentioned that we were a successful junior that went from exploration to production. Well, that's a very high growth part of the cycle, you know, and we're still in that high growth phase. But at some point in the next few years, Endeavour might see its growth slow down, and then we do have to address how to make money for stockholders in other ways. So we don't issue a dividend today. We're focused on capital gains, but in the next few years, most certainly we'll have to look at issuing dividends. Just a little discussion on how the industry works.
Yeah. With running Endeavour, where do you allocate capital now in this environment? Do you ramp up exploration, try to just build a larger resource? Are you trying to bring new mines to production? Where do you go with this, with silver at 20, 21, 22 bucks?
Well, companies, just like investors, need to focus on the axiom buy low, sell high. And this is definitely a buy low period for investors buying mining stocks and for mining companies buying resources or mines or companies. So where are we putting our capital to work? Earlier this year, we were entirely focused on the turnaround and expansion of our third mine, El Cubo. Now that mine is over the hump. It's gone from losing money to making money, and the plant rebuild is done. We've turned our attention and our capital to opportunities. So we are now focused on M&A, mergers and acquisitions, while the metal prices are still down. We're shopping.
Yeah. For the silver price versus the cost of production, what is it for Endeavour and what is it for your peers as an average?
So this year it looks like the average silver price will be somewhere in the $24 range. It was as high as $30.31 in the first quarter and as low as 18 and change in the second quarter. At $24 average price for the year, our cash costs we expect to be in single digits, so in the kind of $9 range. And the all-in sustaining costs, which includes all of the capital needed to sustain the business for the life of the mines, depending on the value of our gold credit, ranges from $16 to $18. So we can survive $16 to $18 silver and run these mines for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. How about the average industry? Because I've heard people say as high as $28, $30 for some of the silver companies. Is that the case?
There's no question that there's some high-cost producers out there who also suffer from high sustaining capital, and they're losing money. Basically trading dollars in this silver price environment. They're the ones looking for and hoping for an uptick in the price of silver.
How is the story and the fundamental, the underlying support with supply and demand for silver right now? Are we still seeing deficits as far as silver production versus demand, but I guess it's being offset by recycled silver, I assume, right?
Supply and demand fundamentals for silver have been pretty solid, all the way up from the start of the cycle, this cycle in November of 2003 to, let's say, 2008. It was primarily industrial expansion and electronic offtake that drove the demand side of the formula. And since 2008, the demand side has been driven primarily by investment demand. So for instance, the main silver ETF funds have taken over 500 million ounces of physical silver out of the market since, 2005, 2006? That's a lot of metal.
Yeah.
On the supply side, we saw a supply-demand gap in the early part of this cycle. Now the miners have caught up, and there's the opposite, and it's a supply-demand gap. So a little bit of excess supply. But it has been taken up by the investment demand. It is very difficult for silver miners to make a significant impact on new mine supply. And the reason is very simple. Let's look at the gross market every year. It's about a billion ounce market that trades hands every year in silver. Of that, 70% on the supply side is mine production. But 70% of that, or about 500 million ounces, half the total supply, comes from byproduct mines. Comes from copper mines, lead mines, zinc mines, gold mines. And those producers producing silver as a byproduct tend to hedge their silver or sell it forward. They like to fix the amount of revenue they're going to get from their byproducts so that they can leave their main product unhedged. That also, by the way, explains why silver is so volatile. It's sold forward more than any other metal. So that's kind of a quickie look at the fundamentals behind silver. Where are we going? Even with the strong growth of Endeavour's production and the rest of our peers in the silver group, as a group, we just don't have a very material impact on the overall supply.
Yeah. Because
of the byproduct producers being so much larger than us.
I guess it's a lack of ignorance on understanding the market, but a lot of people have suggested to me, literally, why doesn't Endeavour and these other silver mines, why don't they just say, forget it, I'm not selling my silver, I'll sell for $30. It's not possible. I mean that's not how the market functions and how it works. For people who want to know, shareholders, why don't we just, Brad, why don't you just sell the silver for $30? Forget about the comics.
So, in general, the sector needs to sell its metal every week, every month to generate the cash flow to pay its employees and put its capital to work. Specific to Endeavour, we're one of the very few companies, if not the only silver company, who have actually, from time to time, withheld our metal from sale because of our short-term views about the price. And we have actually captured significantly higher sales prices for our metal by doing that stockpiling from time to time.
Yeah.
It is not much more than a short-term sales strategy, but it does work.
Just so people have an idea of how big Endeavour is now, how many employees?
Well, we're now at about 1,600 employees, 800 contractors, 3 operating mines, and we have a new discovery in Mexico that we announced earlier this year, which we think will become our 4th mine. So we have a 3-year growth plan now to grow the business another 60%. This year we'll get to 10 million ounces of silver equivalent production, and by 2016 we'll be looking forward to about 16 million ounces of silver production. And all of that is organic growth. We don't need to buy anything for that.
What's the current share price?
Current shares are around $4. They're traded on New York, EXK, and we're at the bottom of our 12-month trading range. So it is a very good time to be looking at Endeavour.
Just to give people an idea of the value, Endeavour was traded as high as 12, right?
In U.S. terms, $13.
Okay, $13. What has happened and developed? What has happened in as far as your growth and assets and advancement of your projects? What has happened since when someone bought it for $13 and now they could buy it for $4? What has happened since? Has your company shrunk over 50%?
So that peak, that $13 peak in the share price was in 2011, when the entire sector had that incredible run in the metal prices and the stock prices. Since 2011, which was the year that we produced, I think, 3.5 million ounces of silver, this year we will produce 6 million ounces of silver. So we've almost doubled our production in 2 years, and the stock price is, what, a third of its peak.
That's incredible. Brad, if somebody would like to reach out to you guys have educational videos. I'm sure you guys have an email newsletter as well for investors. Where do they go? edrsilver.com?
Yes, the website is www.edrsilver.com, and we have on the website what we call the Silver Hub, where you'll find almost a dozen educational videos on various aspects of the silver mining business.
I think a new one just came out. I didn't watch it yet, but yeah. I think I recall. What's it called?
We launched this week on how is silver sold.
Okay. Well, I wish I would have watched it. I'd be asking you about it. What can we expect if we watch that?
Well, it's just the mechanics of when a miner produces metal, what do they do with it? How do they sell it?
Yeah.
And there's various ways that you can sell it. You can sell it by contract to a smelter. You can sell it by contract to a refiner. You can pay a smelter or a refiner to actually produce bullion bars and take the possession of the bars yourself. That's what we do.
Yeah.
And then you can hire a metals trader to help sell the bullion bars. So they're all different aspects of selling.
Do you know what region of the world your silver is going to?
I have a really neat story to tell you. So we pay a refiner in Mexico called Metmex Peñoles to refine our raw silver bars into pure bullion bars. And a year ago, I was in Singapore on an institutional roadshow, and there's a brand new precious metals vault that just opened up in Singapore, and it's one of only 3 in the world. We had the privilege of getting a tour of this precious metal vault, and it's basically people and institutions who have physical metal in their own warehouse, right? So it's a fully secured facility. It's down in the basement. We went down. The room wasn't that big. It was about a 20-foot by 20-foot room, and there was cages and pallets of metal and bars on all 4 walls. So I went straight to the silver wall, and from floor to ceiling were these stacked pallets inside a metal cage. And I took a look, and sure enough, the bars were stamped Metmex Peñoles. So I wonder if some Endeavour silver isn't actually sitting in the vault in Singapore.
That's a great story. Brad, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Great, thank you.
You have a good day. That was great. Great story together. I never thought about that, but where does it go? You know?